Now, crowdfunding is being increasingly used to fund community projects in London, many of which may once have been run by councils. So is this type of civic crowdfunding digital democracy in action? Or is it, as some critics claim, privatisation masquerading as democracy? Bhavani Vadi reports.
I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey.
From the Shoreditch Cafe and Arts Space to the Camden High Line, all these community projects are trying to get the public to part with their cash through online crowdfunding. And civic crowdfunding for projects that provide a community service or improve local spaces is a growing trend in London. It has the support of councils across the capital as well as the mayor.
Crowdfund London can help you make a real difference in your local area.
This is one of the projects the mayor is backing, a new library in Cricklewood in Brent. The old library was closed due to council cuts, sparking protests from the local community. Now volunteers are crowdfunding to recreate that service.
Well, we have no choice. There's no other community space here that is open access for everybody. I don't want to mitigate this constant cutting of funds to councils. I don't agree with it. However, we're living in that world and we're trying to make the most of it.
Spending on local civic projects in the UK, like on swimming pools or parks, is estimated to have dropped from £3 billion annually to £600 million annually. So how does civic crowdfunding dovetail with the services councils must provide within these constrained budgets?
Councils across the country have been hit hard by austerity. That definitely means that some services pull back. But this is actually a really good example of something optimistic and fresh that's happening, something that we're keen to support. For me, crowdfunding is really something that should happen in addition to what councils already do, and in a way which is complementary.
Space Hive, the London-based website, which is working with councils and the mayor, claims to be the world's first crowdfunding platform dedicated to civic projects.
There's actually a very small number of people who feel that they have the opportunity to shape their local area. Civic crowdfunding opens this space up. It does allow more people to come forward with ideas and to support them if they wish to do so. And it's in that spirit that local authorities are embracing this. A lot of people come in thinking, isn't it exciting that we can mobilise different sources of funding for this sort of stuff? But they're really attracted at the end of the day by the social value that this brings, the way that it empowers communities.
25 councils in London have Space Hive accounts, of which 16 have pledged money to crowd-funded projects. So far, 226 projects in the capital have raised £5.2 million through that one website alone, and that figure is expected to rise to £23 million by 2020. But the civic crowdfunding phenomenon has raised concerns in some quarters.
As crowdfunding starts to be normalised, actually it starts to shift what we expect the council to provide. And actually in the US, they do crowdfund the maintenance of pavements or sidewalks. So it shows you in what direction this could start to go. I'm also worried about the democratic aspect to all of this. In order to fund services, you have to have the money in which to fund them. And for people who don't have extra income to fund services, they're not having a voice either.
So, does civic crowdfunding make it easier for people to improve their communities, or let local authorities and the government off the hook?
Rosanna, should crowdfunding be used to fund what are a statutory requirement for councils to supply, like libraries, for example?
I think councils are finding themselves in such difficult circumstances with the amount that their budgets have been cut that they are faced with choices that quite frankly aren't really a choice, such as funding social care, funding rape crisis centres or keeping a library open. They're not able to do all of them. It's not really a choice. They're having to close libraries, and community-led initiatives are sprouting up more and more, and I think it's a really good idea, and I welcome what the mayor's doing supporting local councils.
Is that how you see crowdfunding being used to actually plug a gap because of a lack of funding at local authority level?
Well, look, let's be clear about this. This is an amazing new way of raising funds to provide for local community projects. People want to give money to good causes, whether it's charitable causes, whether it's local community centres, even small businesses can use crowdfunding as a way of bringing in extra revenue. So I think overall it's a very good thing. I do take the point that councils have certain responsibilities, and it's no good councils just avoiding having to do things themselves and it being replaced by crowdfunding, but it should certainly be an addition to what councils are doing.
Right, so in other words, you don't think it should be used for those sort of critical, so it shouldn't be letting councils off the hook?
No, where there are gaps and where the councils can't do things, and let's be honest about this, we're living in a different world today. You don't have endless amounts of money to spend on things. If crowdfunding can actually be used to secure local facilities, then it's a jolly good idea and we should encourage it.
But I've looked at the website of the company that was in the film, and they are doing things like Good Food Catford, Southall Light Show. These are adding value, if you like, but are they critically important to local communities, or are these the sort of, if you like, things around the edges when there are other more critical issues that could be dealt with?
Look, by 2020, councils are going to have £16 billion less, and we need to make sure that councils are able to provide the critical services. Look, would I like us to have to be in this position? Of course not. Why are we here? It's because of a lack of government funding. But we are here, and I actually applaud community saying we want community spaces, we want to have community-led initiatives that we support, and I think it's a good idea.
Is that because council's funding has been cut to the bone by your government?
It's because the government that we have today inherited one huge deficit and a massive debt, which we're trying to get on top of. You know, the country's still in the red. And so many things have to be reduced in what we spend to try and get the economy in the right shape so that we can be prosperous in the future. You can't live off borrowed money forever. I know that we may have different views on this, but I honestly think that there's no bad thing in getting the community to assist in raising money for good projects that the local people want. So it should be a partnership, really, between local councils, charities, and the community at large.
I mean, isn't Labour just embracing the idea of the big society, which was David Cameron, the former Conservative Prime Minister's big idea?
Not really. I think what it's doing is actually embracing where we are, saying austerity isn't working, but we're fighting back. It's about Labour saying that actually people don't want to see their libraries closed. They want to have facilities for their children. They want there to be no socioeconomic divide. So they are taking leadership.
Right, but I mean, being involved in the Furzedown Oak Sculpture Trail isn't about combating austerity, is it? That is a sort of middle-class pursuit, if you like, in your constituency.
But that wasn't successful.
No.
So it wasn't able to raise the amount of money it needed, so it didn't go ahead.
That's the point. It's free choice, so people can choose what projects they want to support.
All right, and at that point, we'll have to end it